So Jason Lee went on camera, looked directly into the lens, and said, and I quote, "Jay-Z, you're watching. I know you're watching. Stop having people call me. You can call me yourself. That is not a man chasing clout. That is a man who knows something and is absolutely tired of being managed from a distance. And honestly, the more you dig into what he actually said, word for word, the worse it gets for the Carters. Because here's the thing. Jason Lee didn't just throw out some vague gossip and leave it at that. He went into detail. He named names. He talked about favors he did behind the scenes that were never acknowledged. And he made it very clear that if he wanted to, he could say a whole lot more. That kind of energy doesn't come from nowhere. That comes from somebody who has been sitting on information for a long time and finally hit a breaking point. But here's what makes this whole thing so much messier than people realize. Before Jason Lee ever opened his mouth publicly, something was already brewing quietly in the background, something connected to the e-files that nobody was paying attention to at the time. We're going to get into all of it, but first let me take you back to where this actually started, because the timeline matters more than you think. If you were anywhere near social media when Jason Lee first went off, you probably remember the chaos. On his show, he openly dragged Beyoncé into the conversation, and he did not hold back. He was visibly upset. He made it clear that he had done favors, big ones, for Beyoncé's camp, and he felt like the energy was never returned. He literally said on air, "I stopped a major thing for Beyoncé. Didn't even get a thank you." Think about that for a second. He's claiming he actively protected her image, killed a story, or blocked something damaging from getting out. And the response from her side was complete silence. No phone call, no acknowledgement, nothing. And then he took it even further. He hinted at exposing private details about her relationship with Jay-Z if she didn't help him secure Kelly Rowland as a guest on his platform. Now, at the time, most people wrote the whole thing off. Oh, that's just Jason being messy. He's clout chasing. That's disrespectful to Beyoncé. And look, on the surface, sure, it did come across as dramatic, maybe even petty. But here's where it gets interesting. With everything that's come out since then, the divorce rumors resurfacing, Jay-Z's name being linked to the E-files, the shifting energy around the Carters in general, people are going back, replaying those old clips frame by frame, and realizing that maybe Jason Lee wasn't just being reckless. Maybe he was actually trying to tell us something that we weren't ready to hear. And this is the part nobody talks about. Even while he was going off, even while he was clearly frustrated and emotional, Jason made a very deliberate point to say he still loves Beyoncé. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "I would never ever want to do anything to hurt her or her image because she's important to us." Now, stop and think about that language for a second. That's not the language of somebody who's trying to tear someone down for views. That sounds like a person who genuinely cares but is frustrated because he's watching something happen behind the scenes and nobody on the inside will acknowledge it. He even described it as a weird thing, like he was caught between loyalty and honesty, and he didn't know which one was supposed to win. Now let's get into the Diddy connection, because this is where things take a much darker turn. Jason Lee also made a very important distinction during all of this. The difference between a Diddy party and what he called Diddy After Dark. And if you haven't heard this part, pay close attention. He said, and this is a direct quote, "You have people that went to a Diddy party, Ashton Kutcher, Demi Moore, Beyoncé, Jay-Z. I don't know if they were at Diddy After Dark when people were getting sprayed down with baby oil." He was very deliberate about drawing that line. He wasn't accusing the Carters of being involved in anything criminal. He wasn't saying they participated in any of the alleged illegal activity, but what he did confirm, and this part is crucial, is that he personally saw Jay-Z at multiple Diddy parties, not one, multiple. And in the current climate, with Diddy now facing serious federal charges, even that level of association is a massive problem for somebody trying to maintain their public image. And look, being at someone's party doesn't make you guilty of anything. We need to be absolutely clear about that. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of people attended those events over the years. A-list actors, musicians, athletes, media executives. Diddy's parties were the place to be for a very long time. So no, showing up at one doesn't automatically implicate anybody. But the problem for Jay-Z specifically is that his name keeps coming up over and over. It's not just about a couple of party photos from 2004 or a random red carpet appearance. It's about a documented, years-long, very public friendship between these two men that people are now looking at through a completely different lens. As one commentator put it, there are just so many pictures of the two of them partying together, and he clearly was at a load of Diddy parties. When you have that kind of extensive, documented history with somebody who is now facing the kind of charges Diddy is facing, the court of public opinion doesn't wait for a verdict. It doesn't wait for evidence. It starts asking questions immediately. And the questions people are asking about Jay-Z right now, they're not going away anytime soon. But here's where it connects to something much bigger. Stay with me because this is the part that really changed the conversation. According to claims circulating from the E-Files, an anonymous woman alleged that she had been intoxicated at one of these gatherings, with Pusha T reportedly acting as a handler that night. She said when she woke up, Jay-Z and another well-known figure were in the room. Now, and this is important and I want to be very fair here, she never outright accused Jay-Z of doing anything to her. That distinction matters, and I don't want anybody in these comments twisting what was actually said. The allegation was about proximity and presence, not direct action. But even with that caveat, just the mention of his name in that context was enough to send the entire internet into full panic mode. People were losing it. The clips were being shared everywhere. Comment sections were on fire. And here's the uncomfortable truth about situations like this. Sometimes all it takes is proximity. You don't have to be guilty of a single thing for your reputation to take a catastrophic hit when your name keeps showing up in the wrong rooms, in the wrong stories, alongside the wrong people. And Jay-Z's name has been showing up a lot lately in places he probably wishes it wasn't. And the thing about Jay-Z is he's always been the untouchable one. For decades, this man has moved through the entertainment industry with a level of power and control that most people can't even begin to comprehend. He and Beyoncé didn't just build careers, they built an empire built on being private, polished, and completely above the noise. That was always the strategy. Don't respond to rumors. Don't engage with gossip. Let the music and the money do the talking. And for years, it worked flawlessly. Nobody could touch them. Nobody even tried. But that armor, it's starting to crack. And once the cracks start showing at that level, they don't stay small for long. There's reportedly a lot of negative energy around Jay-Z right now. And as one commentator referenced, there's a famous quote from someone who was acquitted of charges who said, "All right, where do I go to get my reputation back?" That question is haunting Jay-Z's camp right now. Because even if every single allegation turns out to be completely baseless, the damage to the brand is already being done in real time. Social media doesn't wait for investigations. It doesn't wait for official statements. It just runs. Now let's talk about the marriage, because this connects directly to everything Jason Lee was hinting at, and it might honestly be the most important piece of this entire puzzle. Multiple sources have been saying for a while now that Beyoncé and Jay-Z have allegedly been living separate lives for a long time, together on paper, together at award shows, together in the photos that get released to the press. But behind closed doors, reportedly a very different story. One commentator said it plainly. They together, but they living separate. And honestly, if you think about it, the signs have been there for a while. Go back and look at public appearances over the last couple of years. Look at the body language. Look at who's standing where. Look at how often they're seen together versus how often they're not. None of that is proof of anything on its own, obviously. But when you stack it up alongside everything else that's come out recently, it starts to paint a picture that's very different from the fairy tale we've all been sold. And if there's even a grain of truth to the idea that they've been living separate lives, then everything Jason Lee was hinting at suddenly makes a whole lot more sense. He wasn't just stirring the pot for attention. He may have been one of the very first people willing to say out loud what insiders had apparently known for years. The image of the perfect power couple, the billion-dollar love story, the untouchable Carters. It might not be what it looks like from the outside. And that's a hard thing for a lot of fans to sit with, because people are deeply invested in this couple. They've built their brand on being relationship goals. But what happens when the goalposts move? And now people in their inner circle are reportedly scrambling. Jason Lee made it very clear that Jay-Z had people calling him, not Jay-Z himself, mind you, but people in Jay-Z's orbit, trying to manage the situation, trying to control the narrative, trying to get ahead of whatever might come out next. And honestly, that tells you everything you need to know. When someone at that level of wealth and influence starts sending intermediaries to deal with a media personality, it usually means the story is a lot closer to the truth than they're comfortable with. Because think about it. If everything Jason Lee said was complete nonsense, baseless rumors with nothing behind them, why not just ignore it? Why send people to make phone calls? Why try to manage a story that supposedly doesn't exist? The timing of all of this could not possibly be worse for the Carters. Jay-Z's name is floating around in connection with the E-Files. Diddy's legal situations getting more intense and more public by the week. The divorce rumors refuse to die no matter how many coordinated public appearances they make. And now you have Jason Lee, who has been in those rooms, who has relationships with people in that world, going on record and saying things that nobody at that level is supposed to say out loud. This is genuinely the most vulnerable Beyoncé and Jay-Z have looked in their entire career. And whether you think Jason Lee is a hero for speaking up or a messy opportunist trying to leverage information, you can't deny that he seems to have seen this coming long before the rest of us caught on. Now I want to be crystal clear about something before we wrap this up. None of this means Beyoncé or Jay-Z have done anything illegal. There is no proof of that, and it would be irresponsible and reckless to say otherwise. What we do have is a pattern of proximity to situations that are now under intense public scrutiny, a pattern of silence when people are expecting answers, and a pattern of people behind the scenes working overtime to keep certain stories from gaining traction. In 2025, that kind of silence doesn't protect you the way it used to. If anything, it makes people dig harder. It makes them more curious. It makes them go back through every old interview, every photo, every clip, looking for something they might have missed the first time. And in the age of the internet, somebody always finds something. One commentator summed up the mood perfectly when they said, Beyonce's next, Jay-Z's next. All the people in their inner circle is next. Whether that turns out to be true or just speculation fueled by a social media cycle that feeds on drama, the reality is that the conversation has shifted. The Carters are no longer above the noise. They're in it. And Jason Lee, for better or worse, helped put them there. So here's what I genuinely want to know from you. Do you think Jason Lee was trying to protect Beyoncé by speaking out? Or was this always about leverage? Was he trying to warn her about what was coming? Or was he trying to pressure her into doing him a favor? Because honestly, I've gone back and forth on it multiple times, watched the original clips over and over, read the comments, listened to what other people in the industry have said about it, and I still don't have a clean answer. Part of me thinks he was genuinely trying to be a friend in a situation where everybody else was too afraid to speak up. But another part of me wonders if the timing and the way he connected it to the Kelly Rowland booking was a little too convenient. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, the way it usually is with these things. Drop your theory in the comments because I really want to hear where you land on this one. And if this is the first time you're hearing the full unfiltered breakdown of what Jason Lee actually said and how it connects to everything happening right now with the Carters, the E-Files, and the Diddy situation, go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on notifications because this story is far from over. There are more pieces to this puzzle that haven't come out yet, and when they do, you're going to want to be here for it. Trust me on that.